Sure. So, following on from our previous discussion,
It's like, now where do we start?
yeah, the one thing that I did want to lead off on, and when the camera was off, we did mention that Aquaman in Snyder's vision, much better, more presence, more commanding, more mentoring, than in the Whedon one. And the scene we referenced was in Whedon's one, where he's sitting on the lasso of truth and he starts getting all emotional and talking and like pouring his heart out and stuff, and it was just pure comic relief than anything of substance and relevance. But in Snyder's one, there's a few moments where he has these not heart-to-hearts, but like proper just like reality check, mentoring check moments of discussions, deep discussions with Bruce Wayne, with the Flash, etc., that make him seem composed, regal, like just like a force, like a figure, and not just some silly bumbling idiot.
Surfer dude. Like, you just reminded me of something we also talked about off camera. And maybe you'll dive into this also, but what I did is I know it'll never be like the comics. It'll never be like Tower of Babel. You know, I'm still yet to get that Batman that can literally plan how to defeat the whole Justice League. He doesn't need to, but anyway, like, I did feel more like Bruce Wayne versus Batman, the planning, the structuring, the like, you know, and again, what you mentioned, like the fact that he felt so responsible and so guilty about Superman and his conversations with Alfred, and it just felt so much more, you know, like there's room for it to breathe and to happen and stuff, where it felt so, Batman felt like irrelevant in Whedon's cut to me. And
Agreed.
And then and fine, there still is those few scenes where it's kind of like, what is Batman doing? But when they actually attack head on and he drives and he does his own thing and he comes back and he does start taking on parademons and stuff, I'm like, and he like gets all that gattle gun or whatever it is. So I was like, okay, you know, like, so it was so much more convincing to me. It's like Batman actually had a role to play. Like
100%. I agree with you, hands down. And on what you're saying, and that whole fact of like, the team needs to do this, and I'm almost self-sacrificing because of that, the guilt around the whole Superman thing, and I'm potentially one of the main catalysts that we're here at this moment. So I'll drive, I'll fly the thing in, I'll crash the ship, I'll cause the main diversion for you. You guys stick on plan and you do this.
Which is so here's another, like, a side note for people that but that now is where it ties in the Joker scene, where it was gonna go, because, you know, Joker mentions that in every multiverse, like, Batman, he doesn't have like the balls to basically sacrifice himself, and they were foretelling what was going to happen, because that was, I think, Zack Snyder's, in the third movie, eventually Batman would sacrifice himself, and that would have been Ben Affleck's official exit. So he would have had his Superman moment. So
100%, or that Han Solo moment, finally, that thing he got to get in the new Star Wars movie, because apparently that was, Harrison Ford was raving for years that he wanted Han to die either in Empire or in Return of the Jedi. He wanted Han to have that moment, sacrifice himself, etc., and let the character go out on that high. I agree with you. I think that is ultimately what would have happened with this Batman.
Yeah, interesting side story, I don't know if you've heard this, but apparently, like, and I know this might make you cringe, but apparently Zack Snyder had an idea that he was playing with. So you can see parts of it, you know, in Lois Lane is getting her card out or whatever, and there's like this glaringly obvious pregnancy test there. And apparently he was gonna play with the idea that because Superman was gone for so long and Bruce felt so guilty that there was like eventually an affair. Well, you can't really call it an affair if you think Superman's dead. And no one was going to know if the kid was actually Clark's or Bruce's.
Sure. Okay.
Again, there's probably one of many ideas that like fell off the cutting room floor and stuff. But it is interesting to all the depths like that. Yeah, he was thinking about. But just side note, we talked about this off camera, and I'm going to forget. But anyone who downloaded the film or watched it and couldn't understand why it was what's called like what looks like letterbox, it wasn't widescreen. It wasn't a bad copy. That's Zack Snyder's intention. He actually shot it for IMAX theaters, which are much higher in height and all that. So it looks fine on IMAX screens, but on all of our screens, it kind of looks like this old school cut off,
sections of the film,
which is irritating. But
we've gotten so used to watching proper full
60x9,
that you notice it. You do notice these black bars down the side, and you kind of think, well, what am I missing? Like, what am I not seeing now? Because Whedon's one was 16x9 aspect, so you can't help but scratch your head and go, oh, hello, yes. Dude, so overall, if we have to compare or just make us just A versus B, I think Zack Snyder just told a far better story. When I look at all the little nuances that Whedon added to his movie, comedic effect or some kind of a subplot, whatever it was, I can't help but say that they were all wrong. In retrospect, now seeing Snyder's idea and Snyder's movie. Snyder's characters were more
fleshed out.
Yeah, fleshed out, human, relatable. You emotionally connected with all of them, and it happened in those scenes, like in the cemetery. Barry and Cyborg, they're talking. Aquaman and Bruce having their discussions and stuff. You do connect with them. So it was Aquaman and Wonder Woman at the cemetery. All of those little things made you invest in the characters, connect with them. You didn't get any of those, and any opportunities Whedon had, he decided to funny, stupid, comic relief things in, or insert some random Czechoslovakian, Russian, whatever that family was, and try and get you to identify with that family instead of the actual characters that you were watching. So, silly mistake on Whedon's side. Shocking, actually.
And if you look at what Stephen Wolf ended up being and what he turned him, what he changed him to make him more like a humanized villain, it was, it's like...
It was stupid.
It's not even close to as menacing as...
Yeah, and in fact, on what you're saying, like, one of the things that I've always said that I loved about what I had in my mind of Whedon's version was the portrayal of Superman that he is, and we were talking about it just now as well, is like, when the big guy comes... Okay, we can hold our own. We're doing okay, but he's the game changer. He's the piece that just everything changes when he is on the scene, and it's more resounding. It's more in your face, like what you were saying. Where Steppenwolf is a much more sinister, menacing villain in Zack Snyder's film. So much so that when he attacks Superman with that axe, and Supes just kind of freezes and brushes it apart, like, please. It hits home even more with you, like, Jesus, this ogre is way more badass. And Supes is just like, please, I've got this. Like, dude, I'm going to destroy you kind of thing. So, it's just better storytelling.
Yeah, and I do want to me, this is maybe a pro and a con. I'm trying to be fair because I actually don't have really anything bad to say about the Snyder Cut. But, like, where Zack Snyder and he got to a degree, like, sort of free reign to do what he wants, but sometimes he's not as afraid to push the boundaries or take risks and stuff. So where I felt that there was a con was like there was 2 F-bombs in the film, I think, where like in the apocalyptic scene with Jared Leto, Batman's like, he said something about like, I'll fuck you up or something. And I was like, and then Cyborg also says it somewhere. I can't remember, but like I felt I'm like, it didn't add anything or like, or true. Take anything away. But where it worked is the end scene, just straight after you're talking about where Supes like kicks like the shit out of Stephen Wolf, whatever. But still you have the last thing where it's like Wonder Woman slices off his head and rolls into Darkseid, and and
he steps on it.
Now, someone actually on YouTube, I can't remember who it was, but they put side by side where Wonder Woman does Josh Whedon uses the same jump, but it's like for different effect. And it just, again, it's Amazon's Wonder Woman isn't, if she knows she has to kill, she has to. The stakes are higher. So it's like, like Batman doesn't kill. So if it's an alien, he probably should try kill him, like, like this is world threat, opposed to like one guy that's just like on the, terrorizing Gotham. Yeah. So like, I like that there was even though Supes came in and definitely ended the fight, but it still had the last of, Aquaman helping, Wonder Woman coming in because, she can, to a degree, go toe-to-toe with Supes, like if she really had to, like, No,
Yeah.
I'm saying hold her own, the longest out of.
Yeah, she'll hold her own the longest, but you get that, and that's what I loved about. I have to give the credit to Zack Snyder now because it was his original footage. That scene where, again, they all come off to Soups. He's not in his right mind. He takes them out like they're just not even there. She is the only one who holds her own the longest, but when it comes down to it, he's just like, I'm going to remove you. Hovers up and wham, and she's just buried into the ground.
The headbutts, I think,
And then that, for me, that is it. And I'll have to now unequivocally give that credit to Snyder. Initially, it was Whedon because I thought it was Whedon stuff. Hands down, it's Snyder. He gets that Soups is actually that deciding factor. Every other hero on the planet they're hardcore. They're a force to be reckoned with. On this planet, with that sun powering him, can't stop him.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I know you enjoyed it, but there's a few people, so I had like one or two friends that like, I'm like the comic guy in their non-comic world, you know, like we always all have friends like that. And they're like, who's the green dude? You know, so Martian Manhunter, and they're like, we don't understand, like, where was he all along? Which is a good question, right?
It is.
And apparently the way it was rationalized is because he was a foreign alien, because of the way you saw Superman was treated, you know, he hid and waited it out to see until he could find
which is actually good, and it makes
the Justice
sense.
League was, you know, coming together was that inspirable moment for him to go, okay, you know, it's a bit late,
it's now
but
safe for me to reveal myself to them and be a part of their initiative and what they're doing. I agree.
And again, I know like lots of like trash goes on the internet with fake stories and stuff, but apparently it's a legitimate thing where Zack Snyder he literally had the phone call with Ryan Reynolds and wanting to bring him back as a Lantern, but apparently he wouldn't have been, he was thinking of making him another Lantern. I can't remember who, but it wasn't,
Jordan.
Yeah, it wasn't Hal Jordan. Apparently it was going to be someone else, and apparently
Kyle Rayner.
Yeah, and apparently the lanterns that originally come down to Bruce, where Martian Manhunter does now, it was Kilowog, or no, was it? I don't know. I watched the video where it was like two like hardcore lanterns that are like, okay, we need to talk now because this is Universal, Dark Side and all, you know, like,
cool.
We need to like take the fight to them, and that's where it like sort of prongs because Bruce has had all these like, you know, visions and like nightmares and stuff, and so
and again, not so much, little bits, but the actual one who sees more of it and has more nightmares is more the Flash. When he's in that Speed Force and things are coming to him, he can't quite distinguish reality, future, etc. He's also haunted now by certain things that came to him while he was going that fucking fast in the Speed Force.
And that's what's like, so apparently this is all speculation, but it was quite a reliable source if I remember correctly. But anyway, whereas now you go back to Batman vs Superman and you see at the time we were like, what's going on, where Flash was reaching out to him and he was saying Lois is the answer, which you couldn't really hear him that well. And then it's like this Justice League happens and you saw in like, was it the epilogue or whatever, some people didn't know this, but where Soups is bending down and crying and the Darkseid reaches over and that's Lois in his hands.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what throws him over, like, I don't care, mind control me.
And that came out of the Injustice story where she dies and he just snaps then. He has nothing to live for almost. And his humanity dies with her in a way. And I think that's the whole story of what it was going to be, was to get him to find his humanity for a bit just to help them defeat Darkseid. Kind of like that Vader in Star Wars. Vader has his moment where he finds his humanity again and helps his son defeat the Emperor.
But and apparently that was going to be one of the parts of it. So Barry realizes that moment where he reached out to Bruce was the wrong moment because he still didn't know Lois or whatever. So he's got to go back and find the correct time in the apocalyptic universe and
correct that.
And correct that. So again, like it would be epic, dude. I don't know if everyone will stick around. You know, I don't know if Affleck will be willing to come back and all of them.
I've also read these things that he's game now.
Yeah.
You know, he's happy to finish the story that they wanted to tell. She's in Godot. She's in, I think.
Yeah, well, she'll always be.
Yeah, and I think fucking Momoa will do it because I think he's also signed up for the next 2 Aquaman movies too. So the bulk of them are all down for it. It's whether they, Warner goes with it. I mean, we were speaking earlier before we started forming around the higher ups, the big conglomerate of AT&T, Verizon, or whatever it is, dictating or putting pressure on not only Warner but DC Comics and things, and that led to a lot of retrenchments and changes. And it's just, will they give those money, that the funding? Will they see the vision? Will they let it come to fruition? Do they think it will make good returns for them? I don't know.
And this is what's so tricky, dude, is to know and understand what's going on, because we talked again off camera. Sorry, guys, we talk a lot off camera.
But we do a lot of other things off camera too.
But you read news sources saying that, HBO's return on the thing wasn't as good as they... Now, I read that too, but also read where they exceeded expectations to a degree now, where HBO Max are trying to put pressure and chanting the restore the Snyder universe because they've got rights to it to a degree. But then, I don't know if you saw this, but other news came out, which is like just so confusing, that now, after the success of Snyder, some news execs said that they've done enough. Like some of the fans are really abusive, because apparently there were some psycho fans like sending death threats to like Warner people, like
really?
and they're like, no, but the Snyder thing, we've put it to rest now. But then, like, on the flip side, I don't know if you heard, there was always a New Gods film, which is more man, I can't think.
Well, that'll be geared around Apocalypse or Mr. Miracle and Orion.
So
and all of them.
I can't think of his name.
Stuff.
But no, who wrote that new Mr. Miracle that was so good?
Tom King.
Yeah, so apparently Tom King was working with the director, and it was going to be a New Gods film. Then also, I don't know if you heard this, James Wan was working on a spin-off film called The Trench of Aquaman, which is going to be more horror-based in the trench, where all the nasty things...
I did hear something like that.
Apparently, like, weeks after the thing, both canned, just like that, because now, like, Warner, again, are trying to make new moves, and I'm like, can you just stop meddling? Like, let things happen. Like,
unfortunately, it's impossible, because Warner have the exclusive TV broadcasting, whatever you want to call it, rights to these characters. So, dude, it started way back when with the early 1980s, fucking 1990s Burton movies. Most of what they got away with in the original Batman movie was because they weren't as invested in it. They were like, we do this Batman thing. We kind of like one or two of these things, but they largely left Burton alone to do what he wanted, and it was a success. Apparently, on the second film, there was a lot more studio meddling and forced things that Burton didn't want in the movie, but they forced and mandated, and that's why he didn't do the third.
Yeah.
He had the option, and he said, no, I can't deal with the studio encroaching on the vision that I've got.
Yeah.
And I think from then onwards, the studio, Warner, higher up execs, whomever, he had these brain farts or these things that they think are revolutionary and just ultimately don't serve the overall story. And I keep coming back to the fact that they don't get involved in the animated stuff. And the only animators that I can crit horribly recently are these new ones. Now that the Jeff Johns-ified world story and everything ended after Apocalypse War, the last Batman movie, I told you I watched that and I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was shocking.
Well, I didn't watch it because of what you said, so I was like,
did not enjoy it. And I've got to be honest with you, dude, the stuff that I've seen so far for Long Halloween,
I also wasn't completely blown away.
No. I don't know if it's the animation that I'm not liking as much. Jensen Ackles as the voice of Batman, there wasn't a lot of Batman speaking, so I'll have to still see. But I don't know. It hasn't grabbed me like some of the other stuff did. The other stuff, the animation, I really enjoyed, and everything about it was good. The voice characterizations, for the most part, were good. Even that guy that they got to do Batman, he wasn't bad. I mean, he wasn't quite Kevin Conroy, but he wasn't bad. So it's just almost like that was an end of a definite era of dominance for me. Now
And a side note, like, it felt like to sort of take, again, it's Warner, I don't know what the hell's going on, but I don't know if you saw, they announced there's a Zatanna film, like, officially now, like, and there's some, I'll try to find the source. No, this is like live action, and it's all got to do with, we talked about it, Bad Robot Dude.
Shit, man. He did the Star Wars ones and everything.
That dude. I can't think of his name. We've talked about him.
Yeah, he's a great filmmaker, director, etc.
Apparently he's overseeing the whole team or whatever, but I'm hearing some weird stuff. So like Zatanna sounds like it's on a good thing, but apparently, dude, I'm gonna like lose my mind. But I heard rumors. There's so many rumors going on, like with
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams.
J.B. Abrams. J.B.
But there's so many things like where we wanted Matt Ryan to be Constantine, and they were considering Keanu Reeves. Now apparently they're considering gender bending the character, and I'm like, please don't. But again, this could just be rumors. It could just be like nonsense. Because
again, I don't want to come across as sexist, bigot in any way, shape, or form. But my personal feeling is Marvel and DC have very strong female characters. Look, hands down, both of them are more male heavy and male dominated in terms of who their big hitters are and all of that stuff. But they still have great, very strong female characters of substance if someone just treats them right. Like Wonder Woman 1. Patty Jenkins nailed it with that first film. Why do you want to go and take a character that literally, in everyone's opinion, you've nailed with the actor, the voice, everything in Matt Ryan, and now gender bend it, change it, whatever? I mean, we were all losing our shit when they said they wanted to get Keanu Reeves to come back and do it. We're all going, no. And that's no sexism, bigotry, racism, nothing. It's just, no, he's wrong for it. We found the right thing. He had a TV show. He's appeared in multiple... He is the right one. Do him as Constantine.
Yeah.
Finished.
And you know what annoys me is it's exactly what you just said. They've got enough characters. So let's do Zatanna, and she's a female. And what's cool is they could tie it to Matt Ryan, and they have like their kind of love fling interest.
And again, just cast the right female there, whether it's your favorite, Rosario, what is it? Daddario or whatever it is.
Oh, Alexandra
Daddario, or anybody that
there's a few people that could
and strong female actresses that could definitely hold that role up and probably have an awesome time doing it. I mean, Zatanna with the magic, I even imagine it's one of the more fun roles that you could potentially do in terms of special effects and fun.
And that's the thing, they could make it. I mean, a lot of Zatanna, like, I've actually never said this, but and I know we've changed topic a bit, but I love Zatanna because of the whole Constantine Justice League Dark thing. But if you look at a lot of her other writing, like even like Paul Dini and stuff that's written, it's actually very light.
Yeah.
It's very like, it's
sort
of
Morrison
PG.
Now and then, who go a little bit more on the darker, demonic, twisted side.
To me, if you just gave her a base and let people play around with her, like you could go the lighter stories, the darker stories, and just have her like...
Totally. And again, you don't need to gender swap. You don't need to race swap. Just tell a good... It's like, there it is. This is how they are in the comics. Go with that. Get the right casting, the right person to drive the project, and it'll probably do well of its own merits just based on the history.
Yeah.
And then if you want to do a certain movie about another strong female character, pick one. Batwoman, Supergirl, Catwoman. Pick any of them, just not Halle Berry as Catwoman. And then just go with that, you know? And if Hollywood, if you're serious about it, put the money there.
Yeah, imagine an Ivy film, like, by itself. Like,
100%.
That could be your...
You know, and everyone's... They're all too quick to change things or to ostracize people because, oh, no, they are sexist, bigot, whatever. But then they never do anything to follow up to show that they're not. So if you want to show everyone that you're not racist, sexist, bigot, blah, 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 don't fuck around with what's there. Take what's there, pick a character, and really invest in it and make a good thing with that. Like, why...
It's easy to criticize, but actions are...
Yeah, 100%. And that's, for me, what these big... And Warner in particular have been getting wrong lately. They'd rather fuck around with what's already there and ruin it, potentially, instead of just saying, fuck, what is here that is good? And I use the latest Batwoman as a good example. I mean, they're in the comics now. She is full out, not bisexual, gay, and has a lover, girlfriend. I don't know if they got married in the comics or they didn't or whatever, but strong female action character who her whole emotional side is centered in the non-traditional love form. Go with that. it's there, do it. And then there was all those mysteries, or that one actress that she's quite like, she cuts her hair short, she's got tattoos everywhere. I don't know her name. I'll find a picture and I'll flash it up. But there was all that she was going to be cast as that Batwoman, and I don't know if it's going to be in TV shows or movies, and then just nothing happened. I don't know if
Dude, even like, and I'm going back to a more practical thing, but even in the comics, I don't know if people know this, but like even Constantine as a man or whatever has been known to swing both ways. So
has no particular preference. So if you want, use that there, but don't completely change the character mold that we all love about him. There's enough there that you can work with and play with. I mean, I can even foresee someone like him could have something with some kind of weird demon
or alien or
100% right. But no, let's change that character. Why? Just I could rant on about that forever, because for me it's just unnecessary. You know, and unless you're doing it in something that just makes sense. And every now and again they do nail it. I've got to say, like the Miles Morales character made sense. It's a different Spider-Verse. He's that one Spider-Man, and the way they wrote him, did him everything, that journey of discovery, him getting his powers. Well done, guys. You hit the nail on the head there. Great. It worked even when you did it in the animated film. Cool. So now if you really do back that, and you want to find the right actor to play him and then stick him in his own live action film, you can still have all the stuff with Tom Holland in his thing, and you can have a whole flipping Miles Morales one too.
Yeah, and they can cross over if they want from different.
100%. Just do what's there right and properly. Don't suddenly now decide, no, fuck, let's reinvent the wheel. Let's cast Michael J. White or that Michael B. Jordan as Superman. It's like,
dude, there's so many rumors of him being Superman, him being Batman. It's like, I think everyone's just like sticking him in, like, let's put this suit on him and like write some fake news about it. So I don't know.
And again, I mean, we had this discussion about it. It's a pity now, but in my mind, he would be a good new Black Panther. But because of how the story was and who he was in the original film, it's complicated to do that. But I don't know, dude. And on that note, even if you're going to do the Black Panther movie, in the comics, Shuri or whatever, she stepped up and became the next Panther.
Yeah.
For me, that's the perfect opportunity. Find the right, strong female lead there and put all your effort into it. Make that thing a hit, a blockbuster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope they do.